Welcome, friends. This is A Course in Miracles, Palm Beach Study Group. Today we're in Chapter 14, Section 5, The Circle of Atonement. The only part of your mind that has reality is the part that links you still with God. Would you have all of it transformed into a radiant message of God's love, to share all the lonely ones, to share with all the lonely ones who have denied him? God makes this possible. Would you deny his yearning to be known? You yearn for him as he for you. This is forever changeless. Accept then the immutable. Leave the world of death behind and return quietly to heaven. There is nothing of value here and everything of value there. Listen to the Holy Spirit and to God through him. He speaks of you to you. There is no guilt in you, for God is blessed in his Son, and his Son is blessed in him. The only part of your mind that has reality, because we've been told that we have a split mind. Part of our mind is where the Holy Spirit dwells, and the other part is where the ego dwells. And so part of your mind that has reality is the spiritual part, and that part links us with God. And we can have all of our mind transformed into the radiant message of God's love, into the spiritual mind that we can share with everyone else. And God makes this possible. Would you deny his yearning to be known? Would you? Well, your spiritual self wouldn't. Your ego self would, though. You yearn for him and he for you. This is forever changeless. This is the way it is in eternity. And so then it says, well, just accept that. Accept that reality. Leave the world of death behind, leave the world of ego behind, and return quietly to heaven. And you know, that's what it is. It's quiet. Return quietly to heaven. Go into the silence of the spiritual side of your mind, where the Holy Spirit dwells. It doesn't require any effort on our part. The Course has taught us that we don't have to do anything. We just have to be still in the light and accept the spiritual self of ourselves. So return quietly to heaven. There is nothing of value here, meaning in the ego world, and everything of value there, meaning the spiritual world. Listen to the Holy Spirit and to God through him. He speaks of you to you. There is no guilt in you. And we've been talking about the guiltless mind and how we need to overcome our being in guilt, which is the ego thing to do, and release that guilt and forgive and go into the atonement. For God is blessed in his Son, and his Son is blessed in him. For God is blessed in you, and you are blessed in him. Any questions, comments? Paragraph 2. Everyone has a special part to play in the atonement, but the message given to each one is always the same. God's Son is guiltless. Each one teaches the message differently and learns it differently. Yet until he teaches it and learns it, he will suffer the pain of dim awareness that his true function remains unfulfilled in him. The burden of guilt is heavy, but God would not have you bound by it. His plan for your awakening is as perfect as yours is fallible. You know not what you do, but he who knows is with you. His gentleness is yours, and all the love you share with God, he holds in trust for you. He would teach you nothing except how to be happy. So the message is always the same. God's Son is guiltless. But each one of us teaches that message differently, and each one of us learns it differently because as we express as individual aspects of the Son of God. And but as we teach it, we learn it. And that's always been a key of the course, that you have to teach in order to learn. And the burden of guilt is heavy, the burden of the ego is heavy, but God would not have you bound by it. When it says in sentence 6, you know not what you do, that means your ego self knows not what you do. But he who knows, which is the Holy Spirit, is with you, and his gentleness is yours. And again, it speaks of gentleness. When the other paragraph, we talked about quietly returning to heaven. Here we're having the word gentle. His gentleness is yours. Any questions, comments? Paragraph 3. Blessed Son of a holy blessing Father, joy was created for you. You can condemn who can condemn whom God has blessed? There is nothing in the mind of God that does not share his shining innocence. Creation is the natural extension of perfect purity. Your only calling here is to devote yourself with active willingness to the denial of guilt in all its forms. To accuse it is not to understand. The happy learners of the atonement become the teachers of the innocence that is the right of all that God created. Deny them not what is their due, for you will not withhold it from them alone. Well, first of all, blessed Son, we understand that the Course uses the masculine pronouns, speaks of the Son, doesn't say sons and daughters, but the Son, we've been told, is everyone, because there's only one of us. And so this is the language of the Course, and you just have to understand that when it says something like Blessed Son, it's talking about every single one of us, male or female, is not the point, because there is no sexual identity in spirit. We're just spiritual beings, and we're all the same. There's only one of us. So it's saying, how can you condemn anyone whose God has blessed? And then it says God's blessed everybody. And he says there is nothing in the mind of God that does not share his shining innocence. Creation is a natural extension of perfect purity. And the Course has taught us in the past that the way God creates is by extending himself. He extends himself in love, and that's how he created us. We're an extension of him. We're an extension of God's perfect purity. And our only calling is to devote ourselves with active willingness. We need to decide. We have free will. We have to decide to deny the guilt, to deny the ego in all its forms. The happy learners. First, we said it was quietly into heaven, then we had the gentleness, and now we're being told we're happy learners. The happy learners of the atonement become the teachers of the innocence. That is the right of all that God created, every one of us. It's our right, the innocence of God. So deny them, deny yourself and everyone else, not what is our due. For God will not withhold it from anyone, and neither should we. Any questions, comments? Paragraph 4, the inheritance of the kingdom. Yes, Helen?
I just want to say, I would like to say that last paragraph to me represents respect for everyone. Mm-hmm. Everyone that you meet, to just have that respect for that person, no matter what.
Yes, and be non-judgmental. Yes. Yeah. Thank you. Mm-hmm. Paragraph 4. The inheritance of the kingdom is the right of God's Son, given him in his creation. Do not try to steal it from him, or you will ask for guilt and will experience it. Protect his purity from every thought that would steal it away and keep it from his sight. Bring innocence to light in answer to the call of the atonement. Never allow purity to remain hidden, but shine away the heavy veils of guilt within which the Son of God has hidden himself from his own sight. So, in other words, with our thoughts, we need to think of everyone as pure and innocent and guiltless, including ourselves. And by doing that, we help lift up the consciousness of the entire planet. Okay? And we need to be vigilant to never allow purity to remain hidden. So don't judge other people, is what it's saying, with ego thoughts. but judge everyone as being a child of God, equal unto yourself, and beloved of the Father, and pure and innocence. Helen?
So this particular sentence, do not try to steal it from him, or you will ask for guilt and will experience it. So that's twofold. You're trying to take goodness away from a person, and meanwhile, you're developing guilt within yourself at the same time.
Yes, that's what happens when you act out of ego.
Yeah. That's a whole lot of stuff there.
Yes. When you act out of ego, out of anger, out of jealousy, out
Yep.
of fear, out of hatred, then that's what you're doing. You're stealing away the other person's purity, and you're putting guilt onto yourself.
Yeah.
It's a two-way street. Whatever you do unto others, you do unto yourself. So, yes,
Quite a sentence.
it is.
Does that include lust?
Yes, of course. Any ego thing. Holy Spirit would not lust. Just ask, would Holy Spirit do it? Did you want to speak, Helen?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. We'll go on to number 5, paragraph 5. We are all joined in the atonement here, and nothing else can unite us in this world. So will the world of separation slip away, and full communication be restored between the Father and the Son. The miracle acknowledges the gentleness that must have been denied to produce the need of healing. Do not withhold this glad acknowledgement, for hope of happiness and release from suffering of every kind lie in it. Who is there but wishes to be free of pain? He may not yet have learned how to exchange guilt for innocence, nor realize that only in this exchange can freedom from pain be his. Yet those who have failed to learn need teaching, not attack. To attack those who have need of teaching is to fail to learn from them. And that's what the ego would do. The ego would attack those who are in need of teaching by judging them unworthy, by judging them in any kind of negative way. So we are all joined in the atonement. There's only one of us. And only the atonement can unite us in this world. So in this world means in the ego. We need to transcend the ego while still being in the ego. And then the world of separation will slip away, and the full communication will be restored between the Father and you and me and us. The miracle acknowledged the gentleness.
I think that's guiltlessness, isn't it?
I'm sorry, the guiltlessness. Yes, thank you, Ellen. The miracle acknowledges the guiltlessness that must have been denied to produce the need of healing, which is to produce the ego. The ego is the need of healing. Do not withhold this glad acknowledgement. And it's just, again, it's basically saying the same thing over and over again, but just in different words from a different perspective, in the attempt to give everyone a chance to understand it. They may not have understood it in one paragraph, but they catch it in another. So that's the way the Course is written. When it says he may not, paragraph 6, I'll redo it as saying you may not yet have learned how to exchange guilt for innocence, nor realize that only in this exchange can freedom from pain be yours. Yet, those who have failed to learn need teaching, not attack. So we look at somebody and say, oh, that no good. So this happens a lot with politicians. Look at what that politician's doing, banning books and blah, blah, blah. Well, that person is in need of teaching, not attack. This is a very important point, because how you react to people is very key here to your own enlightenment. No matter what the other person did, you need to see that person as a child of God, as guiltless, and realize that the thing that they're doing in the ego world is out of their ego selves. And therefore, they are in need of teaching, not attack. Sentence 8, to attack those who have need of teaching is to fail to learn from them. Helen?
Yeah, that's pretty I want to say that's pretty difficult to eat. In this world, because an instinct is to attack when something is seen in a way that may be hurtful. Yeah, I'm not quite sure how I want to formulate this.
Yes, it is natural to attack in the ego world.
Yeah.
That's where we need to use our free will to decide not to attack. So, there's these politicians out there who are making laws, banning books or refusing to put in gun controls and stuff like that. A lot of people are upset with them, and they attack them mentally, verbally, in the press, blah, 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 what have you, and what the Course is saying, well, these people are only doing that because they're operating out of ego, and they're not realizing that they are spiritual beings. If they realized they were spiritual beings, they would not be acting this way out of ego. And so they need to learn. And you need to send them love and forgiveness, not attack. You need to hold them in the light. You need to project their guiltlessness to them and understand that they are spiritual beings, regardless of what they're doing in the ego world, that is not their real selves. That is their dream selves. Their real selves are one with us, our brothers and sisters in the Holy Spirit, in the Christ, and there's lots of different terms and names to give it, in God. And so it's important that we understand that and that we think that way, because all of this happens in the mind, not in the physical world. The physical world is the world of the ego. It is a dream. It is an illusion. The only real world, the spiritual world, is in the mind. And so we need to embrace our guiltless mind and embrace our spiritual mind and understand that to attack those who have need of teaching is to fail to learn from them. Paragraph 6.
Wait, John, just 1 second.
Okay.
So the response to someone that has been attacking, that's in ego, and still staying in your spiritual self being, and responding by holding that people in the light. But I'm also, I keep on hearing the word response, using a response, whatever it may be, has to be, to me, that person, when, say it's me and I'm going to respond to that person, I want that person to, whatever I say, understand that I'm saying this out of love for you. I'm saying this out of love. So I want to be able to respond in a way that I'm saying out of love. I don't agree with what you're doing. And you are a spiritual person too. So I want to be able to convey that information in that situation. And I'll tell you, let me give you an example. I had an incident recently, and this person and I were sort of in a state of ego and trying to stay out of ego. And I responded to this woman by saying, yes, I think differently than a lot of other people. That had nothing to do with the conversation we were talking, but I wanted her to know that I hear what you're saying. I do not belong to your club. I still care about you because I want to love you as a human being. And I could see the expression on her face. She heard me. And that's all I wanted. That's all I wanted her to hear. I just wanted her to hear that. Even though I didn't say those words, the words that I did say conveyed that message.
Okay, and you
Gold star for me, John. Gold star.
Okay, very good. So each opportunity you have to, to teach, not preach,
Right.
teach
Yep.
by example you know.
It wasn't easy though. That's all I'm saying. It was not an easy task. But I know God those thoughts came from God. It's not something I would have thought of on my own. So though that one simple sentence, I that was God pushing those words out for me.
Very good. Okay then. Thank you for sharing.
You're welcome.
Paragraph 6. Teachers of innocence, each in his own way, have joined together, taking their part in the unified curriculum of the atonement. There is no unity of learning goals apart from this. There is no conflict in this curriculum, which has one aim, however it is taught. Each effort made on its behalf is offered for the single purpose of release from guilt to the eternal glory of God and his creation. And every teaching that points to this points straight to heaven and the peace of God. There is no pain, no trial, no fear that teaching this can fail to overcome. The power of God himself supports this teaching and guarantees its limitless results. So that's just saying, we each do it in our own way. We each have to find our own way to teach the truth of spirit to ourselves and others in our daily interactions with people. And just as Helen illustrated, the opportunity came to her, she spoke from spirit, and she did her teaching. And that's all that we can do. But that's all. But in doing that, we're doing all that we can do. So paragraph 7, join your own efforts to the power that cannot fail and must result in peace. No one can be untouched by teaching such as this. You will not see yourself beyond the power of God if you teach only this. You will not be exempt from the effects of this most holy lesson, which seeks but to restore what is the right of God's creation. From everyone whom you accord release from guilt, you will inevitably learn your innocence. The circle of atonement has no end, and you will find ever-increasing confidence in your safe inclusion in the circle with everyone you bring within its safety and its perfect peace. So again, each of our efforts individually contribute to the community of the whole. And I just want to point out in sentence 4, you will not be exempt from the effects of this most holy lesson, which seeks but to restore what is the right of God's creation. Well, God's creation is you. What is your right? Your right is heaven. And so what we're learning here is helping us to restore us to the world of spirit. Restore, because that's where we came from in the first place. You know, this whole ego teaching of that everyone's born with original sin and blah, 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 you know. No, everyone was created as a pure, guiltless child of God, pure and innocent. We fell into ego through our own thoughts of separation. And so this whole effort here of the Course is to restore us to that which is rightfully ours, to restore us to the kingdom of heaven from where we were originally created, and that still exists, and actually is a place that we've never left. We just think we have, because we're immersed in the ego dream illusion of separation. But it's not real. We never left heaven. We just have to realize that in our minds.
Thank you, John, for that.
Paragraph, sentence 6, the circle of atonement has no end. There's no end to the circle of atonement. Paragraph 8, peace then be unto everyone who becomes a teacher of peace. For peace is the acknowledgement of perfect purity, from which no one is excluded. Within its holy circle is everyone whom God created as his son. Joy is its unifying attribute, and no one left outside with no one left outside to suffer guilt alone. The power of God draws everyone to its safe embrace of love and union. Stand quietly within this circle and attract all tormented minds to join with you in the safety of its peace and holiness. Abide with me within it as the teacher of atonement, not of guilt. I'll go right to sentence 7. Abide with me within it. The me is Jesus, who's speaking these words. He is the teacher of the atonement. This is a very beautiful paragraph. It really needs no interpretation. It's very clear. You can go ahead and reread this to yourself later. Paragraph 9, blessed are you who teach with me, again with Jesus. Our power comes not of us, but of our Father. In guiltlessness we know him, and he knows us guiltless. I stand within the circle, calling you to peace. Teach peace with me, and stand with me on holy ground. Remember for everyone your Father's power that he has given him. Believe not that you cannot teach his perfect peace. Stand not outside, but join with me within. Fail not the only purpose to which my teaching calls you. Restore to God his Son as he created him, by teaching him his innocence. Paragraph 10. The crucifixion had no part in the atonement. Only the resurrection became my part in it. This is the symbol of the release from guilt by guiltlessness. Whom you perceive as guilty, you would crucify. Yet you restore guiltlessness to whomever you see is guiltless. Crucifixion is always the ego's aim. It sees everyone as guilty, and by its condemnation, it would kill. The Holy Spirit sees only guiltlessness, and in his gentleness, he would release from fear and reestablish the reign of love. The power of love is in his gentleness, which is of God, and therefore cannot crucify nor suffer crucifixion. The temple you restore becomes your altar, for it was rebuilt through you, and everything you give to God is yours. Thus he creates, and thus must you restore. Are there any questions, comments? Paragraph 11. Each one of you see your place within the holy circle of atonement or leave outside, judging him fit for crucifixion or for redemption. If you bring him into the circle of purity, you will rest there with him. If you leave him without, you join him there. Judge not, except in quietness, which is not of you. Refuse to accept anyone as without the blessing of atonement, and bring him into it by blessing him. Holiness must be shared, for therein lies everything that makes it holy. Come gladly to the holy circle and look out in peace on all who think they are outside. Cast no one out, for here is what he seeks along with you. Come, let us join him in the holy place of peace, which is for all of us, united as one within the cause of peace. So leave no one out. No matter what anybody appears to be doing or saying in the ego world, know that that's behavior is just from ego. That the reality of that person is that they are a spiritual being, unlike yourself. That you are one with them. That you are one with God, and so are they. That you are the Christ and they are the Christ, the Son of God. And just look at everyone that way through those eyes and share the atonement with them, regardless of their ego behavior. And that is how we learn, and that is how we teach. Any questions, comments?
That's just so beautiful, John.
It is, really. Anyone else have any comments or questions? Thank you for joining me this evening, friends. Let's have a moment of silence and then we'll stop our recording.